All right, welcome to the Triathlon Nutrition Academy, legend.
Legend. I don't know about that. I'll take it, but I'm not sure I agree with you.
Total legend. I'm so pumped to have you on because I selfishly wanted a reason to be able to chat with you. But most importantly, I want my listeners to hear from the chief of Witsup and hear about all the awesome things you've achieved for women in sport, and that doesn't get lost in the ether of the internet.
Oh, well, thank you. I've got to learn to take it, I guess, a compliment a little bit better. I'm working on it. So thank you. That's very kind of you.
You definitely do need to learn how to take one on the chin.
Take it on the chin?
Take a compliment on the chin. Where do you take them?
No, but isn't take it on the chin like someone's punching you?
Possibly, but, my brain doesn't work. It semi-works.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I will also take a punch from you as well.
Would you?
Yeah, I mean, if you needed me to, I would.
I don't think I'd punch you, to be honest.
We're off to a great start.
Anything is editable. It's all good.
No, keep it in. This is clearly what the listeners want to hear.
Oh, funny. All right, so let's set the scene. Can you tell me why you started Witsup in the first place?
So it's funny, whenever someone asks me about this, it's not going to roll. Well, I guess I do roll my eyes a little bit just because I feel like I've told the story, but I know that each time you tell the story, there's always going to be at least one person who hasn't heard it. So I get it, but I just get this fearfulness of I don't want to bore people. So let's just assume no one knows anything about me, and we'll go with that. Okay.
And let's assume that nobody knows anything because you know your story so well and you're probably sick of telling it, but there's people out there that, geez, I don't know why they don't know Stef Hanson, but there's people out there that don't know who Stef Hanson is. So let's tell them who you are.
All right. So I guess Witsup started because I was writing at one of the Triathlete magazines here in Australia, and I'd actually just done an interview with little known name, Caroline Zena Steffen, who it's weird because I'm now actually really good mates with her. But back then I was a massive fangirl. Now I just think she's a dick, but I'm just joking. No, she's an awesome person on and off the race course. But I'd just done this interview with her and figured it would be the feature of the article, the main feature. Of the magazine, and the magazine went out and she wasn't on the cover, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, it was definitely the main feature of this particular magazine. And so I just innocently asked, why don't we, I've noticed that we don't have many women on the cover of the magazine. Why didn't we have her on this particular cover? And the response I got was, women don't sell magazines. And it kind of shook me because I didn't know what to expect, but I certainly didn't expect that as the answer. And the other thing that I didn't go into that discussion, it wasn't a loaded question. It was a very innocent, curious question. And the answer I got just built up this burning desire to change that, because I just thought it was the most ridiculous answer I'd ever heard.
And it wasn't the answer from a male?
Of course. Of course it was. I'd been for quite a few years, I'd been floating around doing quite a few different things. I was a personal trainer at the time. I was heavily involved as an age group triathlete in the sport, wanting to go far. I was commentating at local triathlon events and writing for the magazine. So I was doing a lot. I was really involved and not really knowing where all these bits and pieces were going, just really enjoying what I was up to. And it was that moment that it was that aha moment, that light bulb moment where I knew why I was doing all these things that I'd been doing and what I had to do with it. And I vividly remember sitting at my mate's house, having a barbecue, and I just said, what do you think about this idea? Explain the story. And it was almost like everyone stood up and gave a slow clap because everyone realized this is exactly what I had to do. And I feel pretty lucky or fortunate that I did have that moment, because I don't think many people have that opportunity or allow themselves to be open to those kind of opportunities and ideas and follow those ideas through. And so, yeah, Witsup was born.
So it's like that pivotal moment that was like a snap, like, this is what I'm here for. This is my purpose.
Right. Totally. Yeah, without a doubt. Like, I had zero doubt.
All of these things were culminating in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yep. Amazing.
And I know I've always been a person who, I'll take a leap. I will do things knowing that it's leading somewhere and being okay with it not actually having an idea of what the outcome's going to be. I've always done that. I moved from Tassie to Melbourne with $500 in the bank account, no idea what I wanted to do other than I wanted to eventually play softball for Australia, but that's a whole other story. But I was just like, sorry, are we allowed to swear on this, or are you going to beat me out?
Swear away.
Okay. So I was just like, fuck it. I'm going, and I'll figure it out, because I just need to do this. So I've always just made those kind of decisions and done those kind of things, being okay with not knowing the outcome, because I feel like that's always just sort of could squash the opportunities.
That's kind of your personality, though. You're really passionate about something, and it doesn't matter if it's, going to get you from A to B, or it's a certain financial reward, or any of that sort of stuff. You're just led by passion, which is so amazing.
Thank you. I do. Yes, I am very much driven by passion. You're right. Nailed it.
Nailed it in one.
I can stop seeing my psych now. You've just summed me up in a short sentence. I like it.
Well, dietetics is mostly psych.
True. Yeah. Very true.
A lot of psych, a little bit of food sprinkled in there.
Oh, I like it. Do you use that as a quote?
No.
In your work? That's a great one. Write it down.
Put it on a t-shirt? Put it on a t-shirt?
Definitely. I'll wear it.
Okay, deal. So I want to ask you, because Witsup, you made the tough decision to, I don't know, what's the right word, close or fold or stop Witsup this year. And is there anything that you wish you had have known back then when you started that you do know now?
Oh, that's a good question. So first of all, I still don't know what the word is to saying stopping Witsup, or, because I don't know, it feels like it all just has these negative connotations to it, and I don't want it to be a negative thing. I want it to be, it was time. It was time to move on. There's other things out there for me, which I'm in that similar kind of space of, I'm doing bits and pieces and using my skills, and things are happening, and I'm trusting that right now. So that's a really positive thing. But as far as closing that chapter, gosh, how many wanky sayings can I come up with? Closing a chapter, shutting a door.
Reached its expiry date.
Oh, I don't mind that one.
It's a food-related one.
Yeah, good. Look at you. Write that one down as well.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Write it down, put it on a t-shirt. So I think, and I'm not blaming the pandemic on the decision, but it certainly played a major role. And I think because a lot of the work that I did and a lot of the things that I enjoyed was going to races, traveling the world. I've always just been an all-in kind of person. So I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't be that all-in person that I enjoy, and I couldn't reap those benefits. And then sitting in a room trying to do what I did, it didn't work for me. So the pandemic definitely played a role, but again, like we said, I felt like it had kind of come to an expiry date, and I want to seek other challenges, and what they are, I'm still trying to figure out, but I will. So that's the short. I'm still unpacking it, to be completely honest with you. I feel sad about it some days, because it was really, insanely good memories. Some of the shit that I used to do would, like, it was just unreal. But as far as learning something that I wish I knew at the start, I often say to myself, I wish I had been better at turning it into a viable business from a money point of view. But in saying that, back when I started, I'm just not driven by money. I'm just not. I never will be, but I'm learning that I need to make it a priority. And that's what I'm doing sort of moving forward, especially with a kid, because it's not just me. I can't just travel the globe and say I don't give a fuck. Like, you know.
Yeah, spanner.
Yeah. But I'm also okay with that. Like, I want to. That excites me, being able to provide for her. It's just trying to figure out how to do it. But back when I started and over the course of the 10 years, I saw people try to come into that space and occupy that space and, you know, earn money in that space. And by space, I mean women in triathlon. From, you know, I had people reach out to me wanting to buy into Witsup and do this and do that. But their goal was because they saw an opportunity to market to women and sell to women. And it just gave me the ick. I just didn't, oh God, I've been watching too much Bachelor and Love Island. They say that all the time. Stuff like gives me the ick. That's terrible.
Too much spare time, Steph.
Right. But I never watch it just watching it. It's always on in the background while I'm doing other things. Anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, I think if I had have made money my driving factor, it would never have worked, because I saw people try to do it and it just wasn't a space that could be the number one, you know, driving force for what they wanted to do. I saw people try and they failed. And I saw people try to come in and join forces with me, and it didn't sit well with me. So I would say no. I'm really not answering your question. You know, I've learned a lot, but I guess I also would say I wouldn't do much differently, because I think we were really successful. I think we changed the game. And now I just feel like we've changed the game. Now everyone else take that and run with it. That's how I kind of feel. Yeah, I could have made maybe better decisions. Well, not better, different decisions. Towards the end, I definitely could have made better decisions and different decisions for sure. But then again, the road takes you where it takes you, right? Yeah. Did I answer your question?
No, it doesn't matter. Witsup would have been different if you had been motivated differently, though. Like, you were driven purely by passion and promoting women in triathlon. And so that is what you created. You created this amazing community, and you leveraged women up in a sport where we're being knocked down. And it just wouldn't have been like that if you were driven purely by financials or marketing to women in this marketplace. So what you created is a figment of that passion, not because you created it for any other reason.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad that came across. I remember, I mean, I'm certainly also not one of these people who sits down and maps things out.
Not a planner.
Nah, not so much. I mean, I'm getting better, and there's certain things that I'm really trying, but I'm also very much get an idea, run with it. I'm very much a creative, for sure. If you want to put me in a box or what have you, but I do, like, I didn't sit down and write a business plan, put it that way. But if you ask, who's got time for that shit? But if you ask me, like, what were some of my key objectives, or, you know, whatever wanky marketing management words you want to use, but from the very beginning, I always said, I want to be the person. When I say I mean Stef Hanson and Witsup. I want to be a go-to that people trust. And it's not about jumping on a bandwagon. It's not about getting advertising dollars and just selling the shadow stuff. That just didn't sit well with me. I actually remember this is a very long time ago, and we're taking some advertising on, and it came to my attention that, now I have to be really careful what I say here, but someone had just started advertising on the website. We hadn't got money from them yet. And that's because I'm also useless at invoicing and chasing people for money. Another thing I'm working on. And it came to my attention that this company did not fit with my values and Witsup values and quite a few people drew my attention to this company.
Yeah.
And my gut straight away said, I'm hearing too many stories. I want out. Because I do not want to be associated in any way, shape or form with a company that doesn't align with my values. And I reached out to the company and we shut it down really quickly. They were pretty angry at me. But it was just something, again, with my gut was saying, no, if this many people have reached out and said, and they were really good as well because they understood what my values were. And yeah, were a bit concerned that we had aligned with them. And so I did a bit more research and there were going to be lawyers involved. Like it got a bit scary. But at least I managed to shut it down and, it was 100% the right decision. And those kind of things popped up all the time. Like we had quite a few people reach out to advertise and join with us. And I was just like, no, I just won't. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's one of your key learnings, I think. Don't work with people that don't have the same values as you.
Yeah. And it's pretty simple. But also when you're scraping, in a triathlon's a small space, women in triathlon is an even smaller space. And when you're trying to, scratch together $1, I can also see how easy it is to take dollars to put food on the table. But that was just from day one. It just isn't what I've ever been about. So.
Let's shift gears a little. Let's shift gears a little. Let's talk about how things have changed for women in the sport thanks to you.
I'll also say thanks to us. There was, quite a few people behind, towards the end that there was a few people, or actually over the life cycle of Witsup, people came and went and there was the team behind it. Yes, it was very much me from the beginning doing everything. But then as time moved on, we sort of built a team.
How many did you have in your team at its peak?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because we'd have, maybe the core team probably at its peak got to maybe about 5 or 6. And this is all volunteer work. We would find different ways to compensate for their time. Compensate? That's not the right word.
Yeah, compensate.
Yeah. So I'd work on different ways that we could, pay them back for their time. But these were people who are passionate about the vision and about the message that we're putting out there. But yeah, so 5 or 6. And then we had contributors on top of that as well. So yeah, people sending in articles or what have you. What was your initial question?
How have things changed for women?
I'm not used to being on this side.
I know, right? It's hard
and I'm
for you.
struggling not to ask you questions.
Feel free.
Okay, we'll get there. All right.
So think about what it was like for women in triathlon before you started compared to what it is now. Like people have no idea, unless you're in it, people have no idea what's evolved over the years.
Thank you. Well, okay, I will answer, but I also want to flip back over to you. When did you notice Witsup and what was it that made you go, yeah, this is something that we do need and this will make a difference or is making a difference?
I first came across Witsup when I was working with Triathlon Australia. And I think I first met you when you came to a camp in Canberra at the AIS.
Yep.
And you were doing some interviews or recording or photos for the girls that were there. Charlotte McShane, Ash Gentle.
Yeah. Nat Van Coverton.
Yes.
Yeah, they were all there at different times and they were doing a lot of this testing.
Yeah, we were doing carb camp.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because they had to keep eating.
And you came to dinner and you were like, hey, I'm Steph. And I'm like, I know who you are. And you're like, what? You know who I am? I'm like, yeah, Witsup. And you're like, wow, respect. Like, I just remember that like it was yesterday. But it would have been around that time. And I think that was 2015, maybe.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
When did Witsup start? What year did you start?
I keep saying it was a decade ago. So it was around, 2011. Because we kind of did a soft launch before we really, because we launched a couple of days after Ironman Melbourne. But prior to that, I'd organised a celebrity women's triathlon here locally because I was just all about, well, let's get it out there. And this was kind of before influencers were, real influencers on social media. And I just, if you need people to pitch your product, you get a celebrity. So I got, I coached 4 different local celebrities like radio personalities and TV personalities and so forth. Coached them up to their first ever triathlon, and we got sponsors involved who gave them bikes and wetsuits and all the things.
You're a really good connector. That's one of your mad skills, connecting all these people and things together.
And I love doing it.
Yeah.
I hate the word networker.
Connector.
It's that's a much better word because networker is, again, such a wanky manager. Yeah. Thank you. It's not that I take pride in that. I just flat out enjoy doing it. I just flat out like talking to people, and I just feel like if, I don't know, like you hear different stories, and if there's a way of connecting people because that's going to be a good mashup, then I take joy in that. It's good. I like it. But you don't know those things until, that's what I love about storytelling. It's why I like doing podcasts and everything, because you can just really get into the nitty gritty and find out more about people as opposed to, short form Q&As or interviews at the finishing line of a race, which, don't get me wrong, they're great and everything, but this is where it's at. This is where you really find out about people is the long form chats. And
it's in the comfort of your own home too. Like I'm sitting hiding in my cupboard. You're at your place in Melbourne. It just connects people all over the world.
Yeah.
So that was when I first met you, and I was aware of Witsup before then. And, women in triathlon at that point wasn't horrendous, but you'd done a lot of work in the years before that. So what was it like back in 2011 when you started for women in the sport?
Yeah. So I guess so back before we actually launched, I've got a good mate of mine, Kendall, who has worked in the corporate world in the past, but has her kind of role, and I don't know the correct terms, but she would go into companies and basically get out from the employees what they liked, disliked about the company, where it could improve. And then she would take that to the bosses and they'd work together on formulating a bit of a plan. Whatever you want to call that, management consultant, I've got no idea. But her genius wasn't in that, like if you go up to someone and ask them what's wrong with this, it just doesn't always necessarily come out. So she would find ways and use techniques and tools to be able to get that information out of people. So I asked her to host essentially a focus group before we launched Witsup, because I didn't want it just to be about what I wanted to do. I had to learn a little bit more about what other women out there thought about triathlon, people involved in the sport, what they thought about it, people who weren't involved in the sport and what they thought about it, what their barriers could be to getting into the sport. Because for me personally, I never sensed a barrier for me, but that's because I grew up with 2 brothers. I worked in a pub. Like I never felt any different. But I wanted people to feel comfortable like I did. And I recognized that triathlon has a certain amount of barriers, but I wasn't fully across all of them because I hadn't sensed them myself. So in this focus group, we did some really interesting exercises, and the overwhelming result that we got from them. So one of the ones was we had to draw a picture of what triathlon represented. And this is a group of about maybe a dozen women. Some triathletes, some were just runners, some weren't even sporty or enjoyed exercise at all. And people would one person drew a picture, and it was of this triathlete, swimming cap, goggles, standing on the beach, but looked really stern, really muscly, and it was at sunrise. So, they drew the sun as well. I've still got this picture too. And then we had to explain what it all meant. And she just sort of said, and it was a friend of mine, and she basically said, well, it's for quite masculine women. And that's possibly not the right word, and I apologize if that is offensive to anyone, but I'm just sort of talking out how this went about. And I guess by masculine, I mean strong, muscly, fit, stern, like really focused and driven. Yeah. And being awake at stupid o'clock in the morning,
Given.
And yeah. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because not all triathletes are like that. Sure. Yep. But she knew me. She knew me as the, idiot that would get up at 4:30 in the morning and go training for 5 hours, who was very focused, driven, who was, strong, fit, all these kind of things. So to her, triathlon was unattainable. It was never going to be a thing for her because she saw me, but I was the idiot who's doing the iron distance sort of stuff, forgetting that triathlon at its very, very core is just swim, bike, run, and it can be 200 meters swim. It could be 100 meters swim. It could be whatever. It doesn't have to be this ridiculous thing. And for me, that was just a bit of a light bulb that's the message that a lot of people outside of triathlon get, is that it is this crazy, insane, you've got to be super fit, super strong, super muscly, go to bed at 7 o'clock at night, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning type of thing. And I was like, oh shit, this is what we're doing wrong. So that's, again, sorry, I'd love a tangent. I love a chat, but that's when I realized that we needed to work on getting more women involved in the sport, because again, I wanted people to feel like I did, which was just this, I just had such a passion for the sport. I loved trying to improve. I loved the puzzle that is triathlon that, not many people will fully solve because there's always tweaks, it's, yeah. So anyway, back to that. That's why we did the celebrity race, because I wanted to take 4 women who had never done any of this kind of thing before, highlight it and get it out on, general media publications to sort of showcase that anyone can do a triathlon. And they had an absolute ball.
So really lowering that barrier to entry for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was heavily involved with it in terms of the coaching. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't a full-on coaching thing. But again, that's okay, because you don't need to have a coach to get into triathlon. You just need to kind of know some basics and someone to sort of, answer all those questions. You probably got more questions about what you should be wearing as opposed to what cadence you should be riding at. They're the kind of barriers. So many people don't want to wear bathers, in public. I don't want to run in bathers. Do I put shorts? It's all those kind of things that when you're so heavily involved in triathlon, you forget about. I remember one person asked me how to teach them to ride a bike. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's go. And they're like, no. I actually don't know how to ride a bike. And I was like, fuck, I don't know what cues to give you to ride a bike, because I just do it. We're not talking, let's go for a 10K ride. Didn't know how to sit on a bike and pedal and push a bike forward.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. So, and the more you get involved in triathlon, the more you forget those basics. And I feel like that is a real barrier. There's plenty of barriers, but to me, that was something that we needed to change.
And And now there's loads of things around to help lower that barrier to entry. Like there's beginner female focused triathlon squads with no males. There's things like the Triathlon Peak that are really short distances. You can go on whatever the hell bike you want. You could, you don't need cleats. You don't need riding shoes. You could just go in clothes. Like you swim in a pool. It's not open water. There are so many things that exist now to help lower that barrier to entry because people like you started that process for women in the sport.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I like so when Triathlon Pink sort of came out initially, and this is the crazy iron distance triathlete brain, was like, ugh, that doesn't count. It's in a pool. And I'm like, no. What an idiot. Like that, but that, I mean, obviously I didn't say that out loud, but that was the purist in me going, oh, you shouldn't, pool doesn't count. But yes, it does.
Totally does.
Swim, bike, run. Taking away open water swimming is very scary for people who have never done an open water swim before. And so I think it's brilliant to do things like that. And then on top of that, how else is it changed? Going back to your original question, I think our biggest game changer is that we held others accountable. So it wasn't just us actually doing the things, reporting on races, doing interviews with professional athletes, giving them a platform. It was making other media outlets, organizations accountable for their actions as well. So I felt like which is really hard to, what's the word I'm thinking of? Sorry. It's really hard to nail exactly what that looks like because you just sort of start to see it over time. You can't, it's not tangible. Like it's really hard to, So, another example is, I think it was maybe the second year of Ironman Melbourne, I think. And the Ironman Oceania team had basically said to because it was a live feed, had said to the camera team, who are outsourced, so they bring in a camera team to do this Facebook Live or what have you, keep filming for 9 hours from the gun. So most of the pro men have finished. Anyone who knows anything about iron distance racing knows that a sub 9 hour performance, and obviously everyone's getting faster, but a sub 9 hour performance is a phenomenal performance for a professional woman. So to be told to cut the camera feed at 9 hours, you're risking not getting that whole podium. But no one was in that room to say that. Not the camera crew were just doing what they were told, but who was the person in the room going, hang on, I know a little bit about women's racing. Maybe that's not a good idea. You might want to bump that out a little bit.
Yes.
And my Twitter blew up because the feed stopped after Caroline Steffen had won and no one knew who had come second or third because they just did their job, shut it down. And everyone always follows us on Twitter when we're covering races or when we were covering races. And I was like, I have to do something about this. So I called Ironman out. I wasn't a dick about it. I actually called them and said, what are you going to do? Because this isn't good enough. And it's not because there was a people in the room going, we don't give a shit about the women. It's not that. It's not having someone in the room thinking ahead about the women. So they're just always an afterthought.
No advocate for the women.
Exactly. So anyway, we called them out. They pulled together footage of the women and allowed us to publish that the next day as a sorry and we do respect women. We apologize. I think they handled it really well in that they recognized their blunder and did something about it. So that's what I mean by holding others accountable. And I just don't think bitching about things on social media is the way to do it. I went in and spoke to them and said, this isn't good enough. What are you going to do? And if you don't do anything, I will then go to town on you tomorrow. But they did. And so, people make mistakes. So I get it. But we got to stop we as a society across all sports just need to start thinking more about the women. Who is our advocate in that room for the women? And we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. In every sport, like women have less prize money, they have less sponsorship. Before you turned up, there was no coverage for the women's races.
Yeah.
Just mind-boggling, but there's a massive explosion of female athlete nutrition and promotion at the moment. So we're just let's just blow it up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and geez, the sponsorship's a whole other story. And sponsorship's kind of like that. Well, you would know this listening to our mate Mel Brown on finance, that it's important to talk about your wage with your fellow employee, so that you do know that you're on the same wicket, or we can help with that gender pay gap and reducing that, and well, not even reducing it, just getting it fucking equal pay. But I feel like sponsorship's a very similar thing. People don't talk about sponsorship very much, especially, I mean, in a public realm. I'm sure that there's discussions behind the scenes, but still, to a point, a lot of that is held close to people's chest. And yeah, like I can guarantee, not just guarantee, I know that particularly like when it comes to, say, bikes, men get paid more in sponsorship dollars than women. It's because, it's the whole bike porn type of thing for the men. It's, it's cool, it's fast and everything. And I'm like, fuck, women are fast, women are cool. I want to look at what the women are riding,
Yeah.
I haven't talked about this kind of stuff for a while. You're getting me all riled up.
Sorry, mate. I can see your face getting flushed. You might need to take your jumper off. Take your beanie off.
Yeah. And I do apologize to the listeners. I tend to go off on tangents, and I hope this is still interesting for everyone.
It's the best part about you, though, Steph. You have so many crazy stories. Is there anything that we could talk about on the podcast, like one of your craziest stories ever from the road that is, maybe PC enough to talk about on the podcast without too many swear words?
Something about me or something that I've seen? I'm just trying to think.
Anything, just something crazy that people just don't know about.
I was going to unleash a beast then, but I don't think I should. That might be a story for off air, I think.
You can't do that to us.
No, I have to. That one I definitely can't tell.
Okay. Classic.
Oh gosh. Something. Oh shit. I'm just let me. You might have to. Whoever's editing this, you might have to pause it for a sec, just while I rack my brain a little bit.
You do your thinking. It's all good. No pressure.
I'm just trying to think. If you want. Do you want funny? Do you want after party? Do you want like personally me? Like some of the shit that's, man, I've had some blow ups with people at finishing lines. Here's one for like, I'm going to call it pretty sexist at a finishing line. Generally speaking, I'm the only woman at a finishing line taking photos, generally speaking. And the way that this isn't a sensational story, I'll come up with another story, but I find this quite interesting. But so the way I work, so when it comes to coverage as well, this is one of my biggest pet peeves. Was, let's say that there's 10 media outlets out in the course covering a race. Generally, they're all following the men, and then the women get left behind. And don't get me wrong, following a race is fucking hard work. It is a very long day out there. There's a lot of backwards and forwards. For me personally, I used to do photography, videography, and then I'd also do tracking. So that means I would feed information back to the event organizer and let them know what's happening in the women's race. And then I'd also do our own social media updates as well. So it was mental.
Carnage.
Yeah. Loved it. Don't get me wrong, but it is fucking hard work, and people do not understand how much is actually involved.
How much weight you're carrying with all your camera gear and stuff,
my
out
neck
there
is fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And then you'll love this. And by love this, you'll shake your head.
You don't eat.
Don't eat.
Slurpees.
Forget to eat, forget to drink. Quite often we'll go through this is when we're on the bike, we'll go through an aid station and I'll grab a bottle, have a quick swig and then throw it again. Because I've also got nowhere to put it on the moto.
Yeah. And then you go to the after party and have a drink and just get poleaxed.
Oh, you think you know me?
Slightly.
Actually, the night of a race, I don't. I might have a beer while I'm editing, but you're still working till like stupid hours in the morning trying to get photos edited, videos edited, write the article. Although later on I'd get someone else to write it and I'd just feed them information from throughout the day and just get someone else to do it because she's like, I can't talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so back to covering a race. So most people are following the men's race. And it is really hard to follow the men's and the women's race with one person. Very, very hard job. So I appreciate that. But again, the fallback is follow the men's race. Then what happens is the men, let's just talk about a 9 distance. The men are finishing at 8 hours, roughly. Everyone goes to the finishing line, 10 minutes before the first male crosses the line. For the next hour, no one has any idea what's happening in the women's race. And how many races do we see where the last hour is pivotal?
Yes.
It's the most important part of the race. It's where everything happens, the blow-ups, the passes, the passing outs, all the things. So typically speaking, I was the only one out there who had any idea what was happening in the women's race because everyone else was at the finishing line. And you can't go to the finishing line, do the men's bit, come back out to the women. There's just not enough time. And so I'd be following the women's race, still doing my thing. And then, of course, everyone's already at the men's race, at the finishing line, waiting now for the women to come in. So then I would essentially come in late because I'm still following all the women and couldn't get a spot because everyone's just been hanging out. So I would have quite a few arguments with people asking whether they would have let me come in. And quite often, more often than not, it was men saying no. I had a big blow up with someone in Germany who I had run into the finish because I always leave it to the last minute as well. So I'm like, right, she's got 1K to go. And then I'm running with all my shit trying to get in. And also you're still wearing all your motorbike stuff. So you got jackets on. And it's
hot.
Disgusting. And usually it's hot weather as well, unless you live in Melbourne. And this one photographer had his position for the men and then he'd walked off and he'd been gone for 20 minutes. And in the meantime, I'd arrived and I was like, cool, I've got a spot. So I set myself up. He came in and ripped through me like no one's business. And I was like, dude, I'm here for the women's race. We can both fit here. I bags that spot. I'm like, are we in fucking primary school?
Yeah, right.
What do you mean you bags a spot? How about we just have an adult conversation and we figure out how we can work this together? Because we probably can. Wouldn't have a bar of it. So then I go into massive. I'm happy to nut things out, but if I can only take so much, and then I just go massive defensive. Fuck off. Because you kind of have to hold your own, right? But that's the kind of stuff. Every single race, I would have to deal with stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's also a bunch of people who I worked with over a period of time who we had great relationships and would be like, Steph, come here, I saved your spot. So there's also those people as well. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, legends.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, put Deli Car and me at a finishing line together and
forget to take the photos.
Yeah, pretty much. But there's a man who took me under his wing and no question was actually there's probably a few stupid questions, but he was so happy and willing to help me in every way. From the very beginning, he would give me photos because he recognized what we were doing was important and wanted to be a part of that. Yeah. Towards the end, I'm still asking him what I thought about this, what he thinks about this photo composition, because he's the master. Like he just is, and just this wealth of information, humbleness, just legend person. So then there's people like that you're just like, yes, these are the people that make a difference in the sport and don't get recognized enough to be honest with you. I think Delhi Car is one of the, he put triathlon on the map. He is the one who was shooting from the very beginning, and working for the magazines, and I by no means compare myself in photography to Delhi Car in the slightest. He is the master. He is just an unbelievable human. Anyway,
he is the master. I remember seeing him lying in the gutter to try and get the perfect shot one race. I can't remember where we were, maybe Mooloolaba.
Yep.
And always has time for you as well.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a legend. God, the amount of gutters I've laid in, cow pats I've trodden in. I fell off a motorbike a couple of times, not going fast, but have definitely. Well, mostly because we're about to pull over, and I'm in such a rush that I'm just like trip over shit. I've done so many stupid things. I put a dent in the roof of my husband's car. This isn't during a race. This was at a photo shoot because I wanted to climb up top to get a better angle. Put a dent in the roof. He still doesn't know. I've said that on a few podcasts, but he doesn't listen. I don't think he would know how to listen to a podcast. So I'm sweet.
So you're good.
I'm good. Anyway, we've gone on such a terrific tangent.
It's commitment for the perfect shot, though. That's some of the things that you've learned over the years, though. You've learned how to take a bomb photo. You've learned how to video, like become a videographer. You've learned to become a podcaster. All these things you're all self-taught, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Self-taught / YouTube.
And you're probably the only person I know that's got about 6,000 Instagram accounts for all their different things. You have the time and the patience to manage them all, and they all look beautiful.
I don't have the patience. I hate it. I over the years, like I've gotten to a point where I despise social media, but it's a necessary evil.
Agree.
I did. Yeah, I used to love it. But yeah, I just, we went away camping just the other weekend, and it was 3 days, no phone reception, and it was bliss. It was, and I know you have said this to me. I've got in a text message, delete Instagram, go away for a few days. I'm like, I can't do it. You're like, mate, yeah, you can. You will come back and everything will be fine. And you're right, but it's, I don't know, in this dog eat dog world, whatever you want to call it, it's, it is hard because you need to sort of be on it. But
it's fast paced because we've got this instant gratification mindset. That's why you're up on the evening of a race night, finishing everything off, because people want that information now.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Makes it hard.
Yeah, it does. And like that for a very long time, that was, this is really good. I'm really unpacking some stuff now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Psych session.
It is a little bit. For a very long time, I loved that. I loved the craziness, the fast pace, the hecticness of getting all the things done, and then people thinking that you are crazy. I love that. I wore that as a badge of honor. It led me to a mental breakdown quite a few years ago. But I'm still trying to sort of weave my way through all of that. I don't like it as much anymore, and that is potentially where, Witsup's shelf life, started to reach its end, because to a certain extent, you need to have that adrenaline pumping. You need to be working like that. And I shouldn't say need to. There's probably a better way or a different way to do things. But at that moment in time, or over those years, that was the way that I operated, and it worked, and I loved it. And yeah, it gave me all the things that I needed, but maybe just now I need something different.
Yeah, I think your life perspective changes when you have kids too. You start to see things that you never saw before, because it's no longer just you anymore. It's a little person that you got to keep alive.
Yeah, and after having Frankie, this will sound a bit wrong, but I knew I'd love her, but I had no idea how much. Like I just want to hang out with her, and not all the time. Like she drives me insane. I'm not super patient. I've learned, and I'm really trying to. But I think that's also because I'm fiercely independent and always have been. And I've spent so many years traveling the world doing my thing, and 6 weeks in Europe, and Brett's just like, yeah, no worries. And I don't have that anymore. And I'm okay with that. That is a decision that I have made, and I'm okay with it. Because I want to spend all this time with her. But I just really had no idea just how much I would want to do that. So now I'm at a point where I'm really trying to design a life for us as a family, not so much this. And selfish always sounds negative, and I don't think selfish is necessarily a negative word, but I lived a very selfish life because I did whatever I wanted to do when I could and chased that adrenaline and chased the passion and all those kind of things, and I wouldn't change any of that. But now I want to do more for her, or for us, and I enjoy that. I love it. Yeah.
That's what happens when you have kids, though. Your perspective changes. Like what is important shifts and changes. And I don't think people really understand that until they have kids. I know that sounds like a bit of a cop-out, but there's something in your brain as a mother. It's like a switch or some weird chemical that just makes you think about life so much differently. All those small things don't matter at all anymore. And you're not chasing the shiny little magic pill and, running to Kona every year. It also probably helps that Brett's like such a cool, calm and collected, chill dude. And he's like, yeah, you do you, Steph. You go fill your bucket. I'll be here doing my thing. I'm not going anywhere.
Because filling his bucket is peace and quiet in the house. Like that's his bucket's full when that happens. So he's more than happy if I'm out.
That's why you guys work so well together.
I think so. All right. I always said I thought that I wanted to be with someone who was the life of the party and this and that. Can't have two of those.
No.
It's so true. It's so true.
Have you passed the baton of Witsup to anyone? Has anyone picked up females in this space since Witsup has expired?
No, so the only ones that I'm aware of really are the team at Live Feisty, headed up by Sarah Gross she's in Canada, but let's say North America. So they're bigger over there, and they're doing some really cool things. She's an extremely intelligent woman and has studied, again, I don't know the right terms, but equality, women's studies, all these different things at uni. She's cool. Super smart.
Cool.
So she they're doing different things, but again, it's it's different to Witsup. But in terms of, I guess, the women in triathlon, women in sport space, they're the only ones who I'm aware of. As far as Witsup goes, I kind of just shut the door, and I've not done anything about it. Like the website's there, Instagram's there. I still don't know what I'm going to do with it. I think it's extremely valuable, but I don't know if it's valuable to anyone to go, hey, I want to take what you had and I want to run with it. I don't know if I think because I was so much of Witsup, if I'm not there, is it the same? I don't know. These are all questions that I asked myself or asked. But for me, and I'll be brutally honest, when I realized that things needed to stop, it all happened so quickly. And I think to an extent, maybe I was fighting it for a little while because I wanted to exhaust every opportunity, everything that I had before I shut it down.
That's just you not being at peace with that decision just yet. You still wanted to hold on for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think so. And I also, not also. Yeah, you're right. But it was one night when my mate we were out for dinner. It was the first or second time out of lockdown in Melbourne. I can't remember. We were out for dinner. And my mate had asked me if I could do something on Monday. I said, no, I can't because I've got to do this for Witsup. And she just said, are you getting paid to do it? I was like, no, but that's just what we do. And she's like, oh, okay. And how's that working out for you? And it just, again, was that, yeah, oh, mate. Oh, there were a lot of tears. And I fucking hated her at that point. I was so angry, but also really aware that I wasn't angry at her. Her and I were completely fine. I was just angry at the situation and probably at myself. And I didn't speak to her for 3 days, but I texted her and said, I just need space. I'm not angry at you. I just need to be in my own thoughts for a bit.
Let me process this for a second. You brought up some mud.
Yeah. Yes. Brought up mud. That's exactly what it was. And yeah. And I just knew. And then from there, I was very aware that because my mental health was suffering big time. And I was just like, this is what I need to pull the trigger. I just need to get this done because every day was a battle for me. And yeah, once I made the decision, I felt instantly better. And then it was around the anxiety around actually telling the people and doing the things. And then as soon as it was done, I was like, fuck, that I had to do that.
Huge weight off your shoulders.
Yeah. And so, yeah, for me at the time, it wasn't about trying to figure out from a business standpoint, do I sell it? What do I do? I just was like, I need out and I need out now.
Yeah.
Because
you could still
drowning.
do that. There's still time, Yeah.
Anyone wants to give me a call?
Shameless plug. Anyone wants to buy Witsup? It's on the market.
That's right.
So where do you see things heading in the future from here? Like for you, but also women in triathlon, where do you think things are heading?
In triathlon, I think triathlon's in a really interesting space at the moment. And by interesting, I mean it's kind of all over the shop. We see the likes of a Jan Frodeno. Essentially, what he's doing with the things that he, is launching, like his own. What did he do over the lockdown periods? He did his indoor at-home iron distance race. He did the race against Lionel. He launched a gravel race. He's doing some incredible things. Now, he's got a lot of resources, extremely successful, extremely marketable. He's a brand, brilliant. He is an anomaly. Like, there's not many people in the sport that are as professional as him on all the different levels. But I'm bringing him up because we see him doing all these things and people are mad about Jan Frodeno, and fair enough. But he can create all this kind of hype by himself. What does that mean for, creating hype around races that are hosted by event organizers when one person, and obviously it's a team and so forth, but it's essentially one person who's doing his own thing and creating all this hype and excitement and changing the game. So what does that look like for other event organizers? And I look at it right down to the nitty gritty. He's created all this media hype, the live coverage, all those kind of things, and he's doing it by himself. So that means event organizers have to step up to an extent to match what he's doing. Otherwise, it's always going to be compared.
Yeah. Take the likes of things like Super League as well. Changes the game completely. It's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, that's one of my regrets, not getting on board more with things like Super League. I think we started to get a little bit too long distance heavy, which is, we were missing something, I think, with Witsup, and that's on me. But yeah, Super League is exciting, and it reminds us of back in the day, which I know that's all, that's what the whole sort of ethos is around, is that sharp, fast, TV kind of style of racing and entertainment.
Rather than being out on the bike for hours, 4 hours and not seeing anyone. It's, Short laps, really high pace, lots can happen, really good spectator sport.
Yeah, exactly. And PTO to an extent are trying to create excitement around racing and athletes, and I think that's a really good thing. I think what the PTO can be awesome. I think they've got a lot of work to do to fix a lot of stuff, and that's a whole other podcast episode. But essentially, they're there to, we look at we've got to look at other sports a lot more. But every other sport has their big personalities, and people are obsessed with these athletes, and the sporting organizations recognize that and use them as assets. Whereas traditional event organizers in the world of triathlon don't. They just don't do that, and they haven't. And that was part of my thing as well. It's like, how are we not putting these athletes on a pedestal? How are we not showcasing them to be the greatest athletes on the planet, not just in triathlon, but generally? Like, what it is insane what these athletes are doing. And they're out there, particularly the long course for so long. How are we not showcasing these athletes to the world? So I think PTOs try to do that. Like, they're trying to do head-to-head matches and build up hype around that. And I think that's good, and I think it's what the sport needs. But yeah, I mean, back to, I don't think I can answer the women in triathlon thing at the moment, because there's just so many things up in the air and so much shit that's happening. And I don't know, with races being cancelled and refunds not being given and all these kind of things, I think it's put a lot of people off. Certainly put me off the way that a lot of things were handled over the pandemic. I don't know. I hope that we as a collective in the sport of triathlon can learn a couple of things from the last couple of years and actually make some changes. I think it was, mate, you've got me fired up again.
Sorry.
I think there was a real opportunity to look at where we were at as a sport over the last 2 years, to spend that time trying new things and testing out. But I just don't feel like anyone really did that. I mean, have I missed something? I just, like, what an opportunity. Why is it now that they've talked about moving the Ironman World Championships? I mean, I'm sure they talked about it, but I mean, I don't know how you feel about it being moved from Kona, whether it should go around the globe. I still don't know. Like, I've got a foot in both camps. But why 2 years after we've been shut down is it just being brought up now? I'm just like, the opportunity was, because if it didn't work, then we just go, all right, cool, we'll go back to normal. We tried something. This is the time to try shit. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
People didn't have a lot of capacity for stuff through the pandemic, though. You think about, lots of businesses had to really quickly pivot and change things in just a shitstorm. So I definitely think it's a wasted opportunity as well. But maybe, people just didn't kind of think outside the square that much. You're a creative, remember. You've always got amazing ideas, and what you see, people have like their blinkers on and can't even think in that space.
Yeah. But see, then that in itself frustrates me, where they're not like, well, why don't we pool resources? Let's spend this time let's catch up with Stef from Witsup and pick her brain and see if we can work together on something. And I'm just using me as an example, but how are we, I don't know.
You have a lot of knowledge that's remaining untapped currently.
I don't know. I'm certainly not an expert, but I guess I've seen the sport from a lot of different angles. And I feel like within this sport, there's too much of a narrow focus from different, race organizer looks at it this way, athlete looks at it this way, and they can't see outside of that. There's a lot of tunnel vision. And in the grand scheme of things, we're a very young sport. I just see it as a real opportunity to pave the way for other sports. And I just feel like that keeps getting missed.
So in an ideal world, then, what would you like to see? If you could have anything, what would it be?
Anything in the sport? I mean, I would love to see I would love to see the sport on TV in some capacity. Like, I look back to the TUI's series in Australia, and years, I can't even remember the years, but it was massive. You know, we used to watch Wide World of Sports, and that was part of the coverage. You know, on a Sunday afternoon, that's what we would watch, were these people running around in bathers and just full on. And and it obviously easier said than done, but I'd love to see that. I would love to see women as a first thought, not an afterthought,
Yes.
on many, many different levels. Most recently, say, for example, with Kona, I should refer to it as the Ironman World Championships, because it's going to be over separate days. There are now going to be equal numbers of women, pro women and pro men. Great. That is awesome. I love that. However, the reason they're doing that is because they've put it over 2 days. And this is not a feather in your cap, because you're not doing it because you think that is the right thing to do. You're doing it because it's money. Same with when 70.3 Worlds changed to women on one day, men on the next day. Awesome. Great. But don't wrap that up in a nice little bow and try to convince me that you're giving equal spots and you're giving more spots to age group women because you're trying to do this bullshit. You are trying to get numbers because you've then gone, oh shit, there's only actually 25% of women participating and 75% of men participating. And if we break that down into 2 days, that's not many women on a race course. So let's just to be seen that we're doing the right thing because we care about the women. No, it's money. So and this might be me just being in the sport for a very long time and starting to be a little bit pessimistic about it, but
breathe.
But it pisses me off because it's a step sideways, not a step forwards.
Yeah.
You know?
Stick it to the man. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying this, but that just epitomizes the Ironman brand in my mind, though. Like, I don't really feel like they're out there for the athlete. They're there to make money.
And no one has an issue with you making money. No one. However, don't try and pitch to me that you're all about the athlete when there's just shit like that's happening. That when you're cancelling races but leaving it to a certain time so that you don't need to give a refund, that's not about the athlete. I get it. The last 2 years has been freaking hard for events. It was so hard. And I feel for every single event organizer, big or small, across the globe, because it's been an absolute shit show. But what I don't like is the lack of transparency. Just be honest. Like, in a world where there is so much, and obviously things aren't as crazy, I guess, as what they were a year or so ago. And I think Felix from Challenge did an exceptional job when he just said he cancelled Challenge Road. This is the very first year. And he said, the thing is, there's so much uncertainty in the world right now. I would love to keep sort of going, we're going to see how we go, blah, 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 keep hold of your money. But he's like, do you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an answer because no one else can give you an answer right now. So we're going to cancel it. And I was like, yes, just be honest. People respect honesty, transparency, and I just don't feel like that always comes across. You know?
Rant over.
Done.
Drop mic.
It's got nothing to do with what we first started talking about.
Who cares, man?
I do not.
Who cares? So what's the future hold for Stef Hanson?
Great question. Still in that kind of phase of figuring stuff out, but essentially right now I've taken all these skills that I've built over the years, because I learned very early on with Witsup that I couldn't afford to pay a photographer, so I had to learn how to become a photographer. And that's where I just kept building out those skills. But for me, it was just because I had a job to do and never really sort of valued that as a skill set that I could sell. So I'm kind of doing that. Like I'm editing random podcasts. I'm editing a podcast on finance. I'm editing a podcast about relationship advice, just random shit. I'm doing video editing for an insurance company. Like just, it's so random. But that's kind of sort of paying the bills stuff at the moment. We're working on some stuff which I actually can't talk about. But essentially we want to pull together our passions, our skills. And when I say our, I mean Brett and myself, pull all that together and really work as a team on some things for the future. And most currently for him, I mean, he's back at work and a corporate chefing gig, but we want to keep building on him as, you know, over 30 years of experience as a chef and doing some cooking classes. And so we're building out a membership platform for that. And when I say we building it out, I mean, I'm doing all that because he's good in the kitchen and I'm the one who's the computer guy. But yeah, we're like combining our skills, and was a Captain Planet together, combine their skills. I don't know. It's one of those ones. Or maybe it was Transformers.
Captain Planet, he's
our hero. Gonna take pollution down to zero.
Right.
That's the one.
So forward thinking, isn't it, Captain Planet?
Yeah.
Where did he go in this world
know.
of like climate change? Where did he go?
Yeah.
Maybe we should bring him back.
Let's do it. I'm gonna jump on YouTube after this.
Oh God. Go down in Captain Planet hole.
Go down the Captain Planet.
So it sounds like you got lots on the cards then, but you're using all your skills in an interim phase before you find what that next passion project is. But this time it's not going to be a passion project. It's going to be like the bomb business to set you guys up for the future.
That's kind of the goal. Yeah. Again, never going to be driven by money. It's not going to be my number one thing, but it will be a big factor. But yeah, what I can say is essentially we want to join. Brett loves sport as well, but that's where my heart is storytelling through sport and storytelling through food is kind of where we're going with all of this, and we'll get there.
So you're going to become a sports dietitian? Yeah.
Did you see what I was eating before? Actually, no, I had avocado on toast. That's not too bad.
Did you have some protein?
Milk
in your coffee?
Yes.
No, I think that sounds really exciting. Like you have so many skills that you've built with Witsup that you can leverage with anything now. And it's just, you know, finding a bit of direction, but it's also okay to be at peace with not having one for a while and just chilling the F out. Yeah. And again, I'm in that phase similar to before Witsup where I'm doing things, I've got a rough idea, and we're just, I don't know, I'm a big believer in closing a door, it opens a window, and that's like within a week of me shutting Witsup, I had job opportunities popping up, which I didn't even know existed. So, I'm just sort of following it. My number one thing is I just want to work with good humans. So I'm saying no to some things and yes to just good humans and being a part of something. Because you're a connector. You have to have good people around you because you like these good connections.
I do. I really do.
But there's also no time in life to work with people that you don't enjoy working with. If you are running your own show, running your own gig, you don't have to work with people that you don't gel with. And that's part of the perks of having your own business.
Absolutely. Actually, someone sent me this job role the other day that was available, and I think I would have been perfect for it. But the thought of working for someone else, I can't do it. I've done it on and off, but who I am, I need to just be doing my own thing. Calling the shots, but knowing that I can hang out with Frankie and then do work at 10 o'clock at night. And I'm okay with that because I'm setting my own hours and doing my own thing. And don't get me wrong, I clearly work my ass off, but it's on my terms.
If anything, like if this conversation has proven anything, the whole reason that you started Witsup was because you were told you couldn't do something in a way. And so that just epitomizes you, right? Like, you tell me I can't do something? Watch me.
To the big things, to the little things. I am the person in our group of friends who you just need to dare me to do something and say that I can't do it, and I will do it. That's just who I am.
I dare you to move to Brisbane. You wouldn't, Steph. You wouldn't. Bring Frankie. Bring Henry.
Yeah. We'll start a commune up there.
Yes. Me and Brett will get in the kitchen. I'll cook for you. You can take videos of us. We'll sell it to the masses. Sports dietitian and chef in combo. How good is that?
Do you like being in the kitchen? Do you enjoy it?
Look, not to the point where I'm slaving away to cook something that's going to take hours to make one dish. I prefer like a fast cook, but knowing that it's going to be delicious, but also nutritious.
Yeah.
So I'd prefer to cook something in 30 minutes that is going to just taste amazing than slave away for 3 hours, like grinding pastes and stuff. Like we make a lot of stuff from scratch, like naans and breads and curries and stuff. But yeah. I'm not a enjoyer of standing around for hours.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I hate the kitchen. I hate it.
And that's okay. You don't have to love it because you married a chef. So it's all good.
I'm not stupid. My constant joke is he's got a shit personality, but he's a whiz in the kitchen. I'm joking. He's unreal.
He's never going to listen to this.
Nah, exactly. I think I've said that to his face. I think it may have even been part of our wedding vows.
Poor Bretty.
No, Bretty's the best.
Hang on. Is that my end? Oh, that's a plane. I'm going to wrap up, but let me just wait for this plane to go over.
Yep.
These microphones pick up everything.
Yeah?
Yeah. I can hear everything through this, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, it's gone, I think. Well, thank you so much, Steph. The sport of triathlon is so grateful to have you in it and have you as part of it to really try and promote females as, athletes on the equal playing fields to males. Without you, that wouldn't have happened. And so who knows what sort of trench we would be in without Stef Hanson and Witsup to do that for us.
Oh, thank you. I will take that compliment. And
on the chin.
Yeah, on the chin.
Cop it.
And you and I spoke not long after, or rather you texted me not long after I ended Witsup, and it's really important for me to hear that because it's hard to see it sometimes. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's your life's work in a way, and it's almost like your baby, like you nurture it for so long, and then it's kind of, this is another psych sort of session thing, but it kind of is your identity in a way.
Absolutely. That was a big part of the problem, and stepping away from that, who am I? And I think that on top of having a toddler, I don't know who I am anymore, and I'm working through that and trying to figure it out because I don't know. So I'm just being me in my purest kind of form at the moment, and that is spending time with friends and just being that person, which I love being. But outside of that, still trying to navigate through the rest of it. Yeah.
You've still got lots of mad skills that you can roll with in the future. You know that you're a connector, you're a total extrovert and love people.
Which has been a battle in this fucking lockdown. But thank God we can touch people again.
Not inappropriately. No. Or maybe a little bit. So where can people find you if they want to see more? You've got 1 million Instagram accounts. Where do you want to direct people?
Let's send you over to Stef Hanson Productions. That's where I'm starting to build that out. So that's what it is on Instagram. I'm just Stef Hanson on my personal page. And then the other one is if you want to follow my extremely talented husband, who is a chef, and we're doing a lot of work with that, is his handle is "You Can Trust a Skinny Chef," because I think that's funny.
That Instagram account has been live for a while. I think it used to be called Chef Breddy. And one day you posted something, I can't even remember what it was. Like, I'm just a man standing in the kitchen asking you to trust me or something like that. And I'm like, this is definitely not Brett. This is Stef hands down running this page. Like, I didn't think it was him in the first place, but that was a dead giveaway that it was you.
Totally. And you called me out on it. Yep. True story. You can trust the Skinny Chef. I don't think he even has the password to that Instagram page.
Does he know how to use Instagram?
He's the scroller. He just scrolls. So he knows how to look at pretty pictures.
Yep.
That's about it.
Funny. All right. Well, I'll link that in the show notes and people can go and stalk you. If anyone wants any podcasts produced, any videos produced, what else are you doing? Photos. Have to be in Melbourne at this point, but once the borders open, then you've heard it here first. Stef is moving to Brisbane.
I'll see you soon. Start cleaning that spare room for me.
It's clean. It's ready.
All right.
Thank you so much, Stef. Thank you so much for your time. It was a selfish decision to try and get you on the podcast because I love talking with you and you've just got so many amazing stories, but I would really love listeners to just step back and think about what has evolved for women in sport and women in triathlon over the last 10 years, because a lot of it is because of you.
Okay, stop it now.
Funny. I think females are definitely exploding at the moment. You know, female nutrition's going off. There's a lot of research in that space. People are starting to understand that, hey, females don't get paid as much as males. Like, they might win and they still don't get paid as much. Their prize money's less. If they have any at all, they don't get the same coverage. They don't get the same sponsorship opportunities. And just like the gender pay gap, we need to bridge that gap for women in sport so that they're equal with men, because they're doing the exact same thing. It's not like the women's course is shorter.
Yeah.
Preaching to the choir.
Well, and just on that, this is sport in general you're talking about, because in triathlon, the prize money has been equal for a long time across. I don't know of a race where it's not equal. So that again is a missed opportunity for us to be a leader in sport, to be telling people that this is what we do, and we can be a leader. That's just prize money itself, though. I can guarantee you that sponsorship, so a lot of pros, when they win, they get bonuses from their sponsors. I can guarantee you there'll be a disparity between men and women in the sport of triathlon with that. But again, why don't we make those changes and then sing it from the freaking rooftops? It's a real missed opportunity.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, we've got to stop. This is going to keep going. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Stef. I'll see you in Brisbane soon.
Okay.